Good afternoon. It's time to call to order the October 17th meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. If you're here and you would like to speak and address the trust, we'd appreciate it if you would go outside and pick up a piece of paper out there that has the information necessary for us to call on you when we come to that part of the agenda that you want to speak. So with that being said, the first item of business is to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
A second.
For the, here we go, September 19th, 2017 meeting. We have a motion, and do I hear a second? Jim, do you second? Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is adopted. Ratifying the OCEDT claims is the next item on our agenda.
I'll move the item.
A motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes, and the claims are ratified. Items needing individual consideration. Mr. Brennan, you're going to handle the first one, or is Kathy?
I think I'm going to take this first one.
Okay.
The first one is a resolution approving an allocation from the Northeast Renaissance Tax Increment District Number 9 to a project at 1700 Northeast 23rd Street. The allocation is for $1.3 million. I guess we could go through the project briefly. Some of you may know this. This is a mixed-use development that's proposed at 1700 Northeast 23rd Street as a new home for the Oklahoma City Clinic. This is phase one of a two-phase project. Regina, do we have other slides? Or is this, and Jonathan may take some of these, but just as a bit of an overview, the project is to take some buildings on the south side of Northeast 23rd Street and convert those into a home for the Northeast, for the Oklahoma City Clinic, and some space for other medical office uses or other office uses. The second phase of the project, which is not in front of you today, is a retail component that would be immediately to the east of this, and that phase will come forward in the next few months. Let's see, a couple of other important points about this is that there are currently insufficient funds in TIF District Number 9 to support this project, and it is anticipated that this project may not generate adequate increment over time, so that the City Council has already had a presentation about making an internal loan to the project, and then there still may be the need for some general fund dollars to repay that loan. So the purpose of the loan is to provide the TIF funding up front so that this project can get its lending and get the loan approved from the private bank, and then as the increment is generated, that increment will be used to repay the loan, but it is anticipated that there is a possibility that they will not generate sufficient increment to repay that. Now, we're hopeful that that isn't the case and that they hit a home run and are more successful. There are provisions in the agreement that would allow us to share in the upside if the project is more successful. There's also a limitation on the project that they have to hold it for 10 years. Typically, we have a 5-year no-flip. This one will have a 10-year no-flip. I'm trying to remember what else. We share in the upside, and there was one other thing that I can't remember off the top of my head about the structure on the sale. Yeah, the other one was we would share in the sale if they achieve a higher than anticipated rate of return. So that summarizes this project. The total of this first phase is $4.3 million. Our TIF allocation is 1.3 of that, and then there's some equity and the private loan. And so Jonathan Dodson is here with the Pivot Group, who can probably go through the rest of these slides better than I can this afternoon. But
Jonathan Dodson, 1220 Northwest 20th Street, 73106. Hello. So this is a $4.3 million project, the clinic side of it. It's one of two phases. we have an 18,000 square foot building which will house 10,000 square feet is OKC Clinic. They've signed a 10-year lease. And then we have an LOI for the remaining 8,000 square feet from another medical user who's in the area that we think will add. They'll be putting in a new location there, and so we're really excited about that. So hopefully this project will be fairly 100% occupied prior to completion of construction. The next phase, which you don't see, is another 18,000 square foot building that will be comprised of primarily retail, and it'll be about 70% minority owned, and then part of the structure there is to give them ownership, the tenants ownership in the real estate, so that they are able to share in the value that they create through restaurants and retail and co-working and office. And so anyways, hopefully we will have that to you in 60 to 90 days. That's another $4.3 million project. They're very similar. And then, so total it's 8.6 between the two. But what we have before you here is just Oklahoma City Clinic. And really we acquired this, we got this property under contract about 12 months ago, actually. And it's taken about 12 months to find a bank to help us with this. And so this is definitely a but-for with the TIF that we would not have been able to acquire financing had we not gotten the $1.3 million. So anyways, I can walk through. I can read the slides if you want me to, but the project challenges are real. If you were to combine all the projects that Pivot Project has done in terms of financing, the difficulty, it wouldn't add up to how difficult this has been. We've probably talked to 15 or 20 banks. And so Citizens Bank of Edmond ended up being the lender on this. So I can answer any questions.
Jim?
I just wanted to clarify something. The other thing that this resolution does is that it authorizes an internal loan from the Gulf bond proceeds to provide that $1.3 million up front. I don't think I was clear about where that money was coming from, but this resolution also authorizes that internal loan.
Okay, with that in mind, you indicated that you're going to come back for another project.
Yes, sir.
In 60 to 90 days.
Yes, sir.
Is it likely that that project will also require another loan, internal loan?
Yes.
And so that would come out of the GOLD funds?
Yes.
So those funds would not be available till it's repaid sometime in the future to incentivize other projects?
That's correct.
So that's the trade-off.
Mr. Chairman, a few questions.
Sure, go ahead, Jim.
Perhaps maybe for Kathy or Brent first and Mr. Dodson. First of all, in reviewing the resolution, I can tell the amount of time that's been put into this, and so my compliments to all of you that have been doing this for years, and if it was easy, it would have been done already, perhaps. So I recognize the challenges, particularly in the area. Just a couple of questions about kind of the inner workings. I saw from the resolution the description that you think the purpose meets the feasibility, you think the purpose generally meets the spirit of this particular TIF, but yet I'm, I guess, more curious about the idea that you don't think it's going to pro forma necessarily for the investment. Can you speak to that? Because I recognize I would want to say the public value of healthcare delivery also, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on the numbers.
Right, and I think, and Brent can speak a little bit more specifically about the numbers, but you know, when we just look at the economics of the project, it looks like there is the potential for some shortfall, especially in the early years, in the increment that's generated. I think that we have to keep in mind that projects like this can be the catalyst for other projects, and we think that's a very important aspect of this development, especially in this particular part of the 23rd Street corridor. And then, as you said, this is an area that is underserved as far as healthcare delivery, and we think that this gives us an opportunity to get healthcare in more directly into the community. He's already had other healthcare providers interested in leasing space in the development, so he's already beginning to see some interest in co-tenancy to support the operations of the clinic, and so I think we're already beginning to see some of the benefits of that hopefully mitigate some of that potential shortfall from the increment that's generated. But some of it is the project. These types of projects can be expensive. The rehab part of them can be, and the lease revenues that the market will support in this area are a little bit lower than some other parts of Oklahoma City.
So multiple challenges, I certainly recognize. Is the 1.3 to the 4.3 a proportion that you're comfortable with? And how does that fare compared to others?
It isn't what we're typically comfortable with, but we've seen TIF allocations this large on some other projects that had a particular public benefit associated with them. I mean, I keep thinking about like the Skirvin, where we put almost $14.5 million of TIF into that project, let alone the other public incentives that it was eligible for. So, I think we have to balance the public benefits that the project generates versus the amount of money. It is not what we typically would be comfortable with on a TIF project.
And are there external costs for the city from water or infrastructure issues that accompany it?
Those are all part of the project costs that the project will pay for if there's any infrastructure improvements that are needed. I do want to point out on the attachment to your document, there's a map. This one piece of undeveloped property to the west is owned by the Urban Renewal Authority. We issued an RFP several months ago, and the Pivot project was a successful proposer on that and has been designated as the conditional redeveloper for that piece of property, and at some point it will be a part of the development. Maybe not this phase, but some future phase.
Parking is addressed with this type of public access service as well?
We're trying to get them to put the parking, some of it will go on this piece of property behind a building that would be built more on the street front.
Because I'm imagining infirmed people that will need some assistance or at least close proximity to the entrance.
And there's some parking on the front side of the building as well. I don't know.
And then we own several lots in the back that are part of a SPUD that we're in the process of going through. So really there should be ample parking. And then it's also right next to a bus stop too, which hopefully will be helpful as well.
I guess the last question I had, Mr. Johnson, I noticed it says completion by second quarter 2018. That's pretty aggressive. Is that still achievable?
It is. This is actually, this has created a lot of stress amongst Alliance. When we originally started, we were supposed to have this done by December 31st of 2017. And just delays in being able to find financing have created a struggle. We almost lost the tenant, and so we actually had some, really thanks to Councilman Pettis, we had the mayor and several other folks show up and convince Oklahoma City Clinic to stay, but they have to be out of their lease by May 31st. And so Lingo Construction, who has done most of the projects for us on the west side of town, has agreed, and really if they need to run 2 shifts, they will, but Stan has never missed a deadline for us, so we take a lot of confidence in his ability to perform.
That helps. I have tremendous confidence in Stan Lingo as well. So no further questions other than just, again, a word of thanks. Appreciate the understanding and explanation you provided, and I have no other questions, but I would move the item when appropriate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Before I call for vote, Brent, this particular project has been through a number of reviews, has it not?
Yes, sir, it has.
Just outline for the folks who has looked at this and got us to where we are today.
We have an internal review committee that all TIF projects go to that consists of myself and Kathy, representatives from the planning department, representatives from the public works department, and representatives from the municipal counselor's office, and some of Kathy's staff. In addition to that, it goes to that, that committee makes a recommendation to the city manager. From there, the city manager, it goes to the review committee, which is comprised of all the taxing jurisdictions that are impacted by the TIF district, in addition to 3 at-large members, which in this case, Councilman Pettis is one of those at-large members of that committee. And then it comes to the city council for formal budget allocation, and that's essentially what we're doing here today. So, and then it comes to this trust. So it's gone to those, it's been vetted by multiple people and reviewed and considered and looked at all different angles, and the recommendation was to proceed on this path.
But you would agree, and I think we all would agree, that this particular project has some risk or some challenges involved?
Yes, sir, it does.
It also has some potential that maybe is hard to quantify right now, that if things were to fall in place, would really change the dynamics of this area of town.
That's correct.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? John, any comments you'd like to make? owner?
I just wanted to take the time to thank the developer and also city staff for working hard to try to get this deal done, and also the council and everyone who's been involved in it. This is definitely a risky development, but I do believe that this is moving things into the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And while GOLF funds are involved through the loan, this is not a GOLF project. This is a TIF project. And so there are different criteria that we use to evaluate GOLF projects from TIF projects. Is that not?
That's correct, sir. We have approximately $19 million of GOLF funds in the bank, so it will not be detrimental to our other program where we're trying to create jobs.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? We have a motion and a second to approve. Please cast your votes. And it is so done. Next item.
Today we have before you the Economic Development Agreement for the First National Center and its first project, which is the garage. I want to go through just some brief facts over this. The garage is about a $50 million project where we're going to create about 685 new parking spaces. This is extremely critical to the development of the hotel and the housing. And it also includes about 15,000 square feet of office and commercial space. This agreement includes $14 million for out of property taxes, TIF allocation there, and another $3 million in sales tax. The project plan for the First National Center was a total of $45 million. City Council approved the entire $45 million allocation last month. And what we're doing here is we're agreeing to provide up to $14 million of the ad valorem to the developer and $3 million of the sales tax that will be generated from not only the construction but the operations from the garage over the balance of the life of the TIF. One thing I do want to point out, this agreement does contemplate, pursuant to an MOU that was brought to this body a couple of months ago, where the developer has a leveraged loan in which they are going to take out with Cross First Bank during construction, and where the city has offered to issue its own debt and loan that to the developer to take that loan out in about 2 years, so upon completion of the project. So right now, this agreement that's before you contemplates both of those things, one or the other. One will be the financing where we would loan them money, and the other would be if they don't, if we do not take their loan out, they will be eligible for the taxes they generate, and we'll just provide them to them over time, so as a development incentive payment. So with that, Rob Garrett with Cornerstone's here. And he'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'd be happy to answer some questions if you have any.
Questions from the trustees? How similar is this project to a hotel that was brought back to life a number of years ago called the Skirvin?
Very. It's very similar. I mean, it has the historic tax credit nature to it. It has the new market tax credit nature. You know, on the Skirvin, what was interesting on that, we provided $14.5 million of TIF funds out of the 22 that actually provided that, and a portion of it was in the form of a loan that we're still servicing that, and they're providing us funds on a monthly basis on that. So it's very similar.
And that project has had a successful life so far?
Yes, sir.
And so there's no reason to doubt it won't have to continue to have a successful life?
No.
And so we're hoping that this one will be equally successful?
Yes, sir.
Enough for the commercials.
You give me great comfort, though, that knowing this path has been traveled before. You know, if you look at it from any regular metrics, it's hard to look at the price per square feet or parking space. And you all have great experience with building great garages, and you know $72,000 per space is a lot.
Right.
But it's not just a parking garage. It's everything around it and all of the challenges that come with it. So I guess I just wanted to say a word to your comments about the Skirvin that took extra lift and muscle to polish that, and I feel similar to this, and I don't think it would be fair to just look at the math, because that is a challenge. But I'm thankful that this project's getting off the ground, and I would move the item.
A motion and second? Go right ahead, ma'am.
I hope that the parking spaces can accommodate the wider and longer pickup trucks that are prevalent in our parking garages, and spaces are small.
I know the developer drives a big pickup truck, so I'm very hopeful.
I'm trying to wonder whether to take that as a positive comment or a criticism.
Not a criticism, it's just a...
I'm going between the two.
I'm envisioning a meter that actually weighs the vehicle and charges per area, or weight. Get the money back sooner.
And if you go up high enough in the Arts District garage, they can't go up there because the ceilings drop lower, so they park lower down. We have some big trucks.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any more comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so done. Next item on the agenda, General Manager's report.
Let's see, I don't know that we have much. The financials are reported through August 31st. Maybe just a note on the outlet mall sales. They were above August 2016, so we're beginning to see some recovery in sales tax revenues at the outlet mall, and that we've established a target in the new contract year of 1% growth over the prior year. So for August 17 over August 16 was a 3.3% growth. So really good news for performance at the outlet mall. I think that's about it.
My secret shopper commented that I guess there's a new candy store out there.
I need to go out there and check it out. If there's a new candy store, I haven't been there in a few
That's the
months.
rumor. Any comments on the General Manager's report? Do we vote to accept that? We have to, no, we don't. Okay. Mr. Brent.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to, we handed out to you today a draft of our schedule for 2018. Regina put this together based on how things are scheduled this year. We kind of tried to follow it along. We try to have our meetings on the fourth Tuesday of every month, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And others will have it on the third. So this is a draft of the schedule. We'd like to get your feedback. If you have some concerns, please let myself or Regina know, and we plan on bringing this back to the trust in November for your approval.
Thank you, sir. Has any citizen signed up?
No, sir.
Okay. Any staff would like to make a comment? Any comments from the trustees? Seeing none, we are adjourned.